Hello again, friends. I've been analyzing the vintage AI for a while, and I've attempted to formulate the most optimized decklist I could find for defeating it. I've ended up coming up with this Flare Whip Dragon decklist, and I think it does the job very, very well. The way that this decklist works is by attacking the opponent's Vanguard with a Flare Whip. The AI just does not acknowledge that it has a skill that gains power whatsoever, and then it guards as if you don't have the ability to gain bonus power during the drive check. And this leads to the attacks becoming effectively one-to-passes, allowing you to cheese through the opponent's guard with relative ease, even securing wins that they might have otherwise been able to prevent. So long as you follow the advice in this video, you can get a nearly guaranteed 6 damage on your opponent, even if they have 4 perfect guards in hand and a bunch of shield. There are a few mechanisms to make this work, and I will address those mechanisms in greater detail later on in the video. Moving on to the deck list, we have Flare Whip Dragon as the primary Vanguard. Flare Whip's effect is when it drive checks a Kagero Flame Dragon, it gets 3000 power until the end of that battle. If you drive check 2, he does become 16k. For the other grade 3s, we have Dragonic Executioner, which is a 12k attacker. It can hit things unboosted, or if you boost it with bar, it can be 20k. And Blazing Flare Dragon, we do have the Superior Ride, since all of those are Flame Dragons, as an option. And with the Superior Ride, it will have the 5 soul it needs in order to retire a unit. Additionally, whenever a unit is retired, it gets bonus power. So we have Berserk Dragon to also retire units so that our rear guard Blazing Flare Dragons do get bonus power. And Bellicosity Dragon can unflip as well. We will always have damage face down because we will always be using Conroe in order to always get bar, which means that Bellicosity is live. And in addition to that, we effectively only have 3 copies of bar in our deck that we can drive check. So that means that when I calculate the odds of hitting a bar, it's as if there's 3 out of a 48 card deck instead of 4 out of a 49 card deck, because Conroe is always getting bar. That way we don't drive check it with Flare Whip. For the grade 1s, there are only 2 Flame Dragon grade 1s, Iron Tail and Amber Dragon Daylight. Iron Tail is at least nice because that is a part of the Superior Ride. Daylight is just a 6k vanilla, which is a bit unfortunate, but we don't have any other options than to run this because it is a Flame Dragon, so it is what it is. For triggers, we have 8 triggers that are non-Flame Dragon. That would be Tar and Genjo, and then 8 triggers that are Flame Dragon, which would be Gatling Claw, which is also a part of the Superior Ride, and Blue-Ray Draco Kid. When you drive check either of the non-Flame Dragon triggers, then you get plus 5,000 power, and then when you drive check one of the Flame Dragon triggers, you get a whopping 8,000 power during that drive check, and that makes it very easy to break through those 2-to-passes. Breaking through 2-to-passes by only needing a single trigger is by itself a fairly solid win condition. The odds of drive checking any trigger during a twin drive is about 55%, meaning that you are more likely than not to break through it. Additionally, while often superfluous, you can even, in cases such as this, have enough spare stats that if you break through the 2-to-pass, you can still pass a full trigger's power over to your side row. In this particular case, had I checked Draco Kid first, I would have won even if my second check was the bar low roll. We do have a chance of hitting a Flame Dragon trigger on a twin drive of about 31%, which means that 31% of the time, checking a bar shouldn't even be an issue. We do have about a 12.23% chance to check a bar in total, but the odds of checking a bar without checking a Flame Dragon trigger is only about 8.46%. So this means that if we're in a position where 6k attack will be enough to break through a 2-to-pass, then we have a 91.54% chance to break that 2-to-pass. Given that we've established that we can manipulate the AI into guarding him properly, I think it's important to establish how and when the AI guards. You can see with this next clip that I attacked and the AI guarded with a perfect guard. After doing more digging, I was able to figure out the entire algorithm being utilized for this particular situation with Flare Whip Dragon. You can see that if they have the ability to guard for a 2-to-pass with a single card, they will always guard with that one card. If, however, it requires 2 or more cards to do a 2-to-pass, and they have a perfect guard in hand, they will always perfect guard, otherwise they will drop as many cards as they need to do the 2-to-pass. Now, what's important here is if you can have your opponent 2-to-pass you with just a single card, they will not use a perfect guard. And that means that we should, generally speaking, keep our power levels pretty low. So low that I think Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z has a pretty good piece of advice on how to do that.
Trunks, give me a boost!
No boost, no boost!
This means that we want to keep our power as low as possible. There is another consideration to keep in mind though. Even though weaker attacks guarantee that the opponent won't perfect guard, we need to be attacking with the right amount of power such that 6k gives us 2 stages, if it can reasonably do that. Otherwise, we enter into a situation like this one, where we are required to hit a Flame Dragon trigger in order to break through the 2-to-pass, and aren't allowed to hit a bar or we fail. This does push the odds against us, meaning that we need to do something a bit different. In this case, I've made a chart that shows how we fix that. In this same scenario, had I used a Gatling Claw to boost Flare Whip, they would have had used the same 10k shield to do the 2 to pass, and then we'd have a 91.54% chance to break through it. If the opponent is 12k, we'd need a 6k boost. If they're 13k, we'd need a 7k boost. 9k ends up being difficult because we don't have 3k boosters at all, but 11k is absolute perfection. The sweet spot to end all sweet spots. Observe. They are at 5 damage with an 11k butt. I swing for 10k into them. They drop a 5k to 2 to pass me, and then they would have died if I drove check any combination of any cards in my deck other than Bar and a non-flame dragon trigger. This is the peak manipulation that we're looking for, and this is how we win games. Also, I want to talk about how I managed to get my Vanguard, who attacked unboosted as a 10k vanilla, all the way up to 26,000 power. That is pretty crazy, and had we done the boost, that would have been 33,000 power, which would have made Cross Rides absolutely cry. And also, let's talk about how crazy good this animation is. Whew. I actually turned animations on just so I could watch it for this particular video, and I've been loving it. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.